Okay, so last time we spoke about how the Indian from Tשובה already started in the times of the Chofetz Chaim. The Chofetz Chaim said it, and we must be based on the Psukim in the Torah, V'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha, and which we brought down from Rabbi Yoina, that we're talking about Tשובה, which is not Tשובה Shleima. That's enough for the Tשוva that the Baruch Shalom needs for us to start the engine of the Geula, to start us going back to Eretz Yisrael, to bring us to Eretz Yisrael, to do Tשוva Shleima, Memal Hashem Elokechas L'vavcha. And that's how we explain the Psukim in Yecheskel, that the Yecheskel said the Baruch Shalom is going to take you out, not because of anything you did, you're still Tumah, you're Mechal Shem Shemayim, the Baruch Shalom is going to take you out, not to be Mechal Shem, that his name shouldn't be Mechulu. We asked, if you need tshuva, so how does it stem? And we must be based on this. The avada is going to be tshuva, but the tshuva which is needed for the shleimus of the geula, tshuva shleimu. That's where we're not holding galus yet. So in the beginning, there's going to be a tshuva b'tech yira, tshuva b'tech all different interests, just not the Rebbeinu Shalom's interest. And then we'll come to Eretz Yisrael, and then we'll do tshuva shleima. We brought down from the Yaitav Lev, and that's how the Sefer HaKedah says the same idea, and the Archaim HaKodesh says the same idea in another place, that the Geula is going to come. He says another Nusach, he says in the Nusach, there's also a Leshem that speaks about this. He says there's going to be two kittais of Klal Yisrael, there's going to be a kat, most Klal Yisrael is not going to do tshuva. The Archaim HaKodesh says that even the Beinanim are not going to do tshuva. And the Leshem says also, Reiv Klal Yisrael is not going to do tshuva. There's going to be a kat from tzaddikim that are going to do tshuva, like we brought down from Medrash, Amram and Beis Dinoi. And that's what the Chofetz Chaim said, that in his time already, the Geula started, the tshuva for the Geula, the initial tshuva that we needed, that started already in his times, and the Chofetz Chaim was made, the mi godol, the Chofetz Chaim to be made, and for me at least it's enough to go further in the sugya. So, that's step one. The next step is Chazal say, L'maisa Chazal say, that if Klal Yisrael don't do tshuva, Hari Mamun Aleim Melech Kosher Kahaman, they should do tshuva, like what happened by Purim. Now, definitely in the times of after the Chofetz Chaim was nifted, the times of the Second World War, in times of the Shoya, it was Melech Kosher Ka'aman. The only difference is that Haman wasn't Matzliach in his Gzeira, and Hitler Yamach Shemoy was Matzliach in his Gzeira. But the big question is, what happened to Tshuva from the Melech Kosher Ka'aman? So right now, I'm not going to talk about that question. I'm just going to bring out the Kirvas Hashem. It's a different form of tshuva, which came about because of Hitler Yamach Shemoy and the Second World War. And this is also based on the different parashas that we spoke about last time. There's a parasha that there is going to be tshuva, there's a parasha that there won't be tshuva, and there was one parasha that we didn't do. We only said the Psukim Yecheskel, but really it's a parasha in the Torah. In Parashat Netzavim, we'll see the Ramban over there says that this parasha from Tshuva this parasha from the Geula does not need Tshuva. And if we'll be mizboinen in that parasha, Bez Hashem will have the sod of the idea of what happened during the Second World War. So, before we start thinking about the first thing that that a person is supposed to think, if he thinks about the Second World War, is what happened from 6 million or 7 million Yidden being nishchat, b'yisirim, kashim, v'morim. It's pashut to understand the whole cheshbon of the Rebbeinu Shalom is something that we can't understand. Nistorim darkei Hashem. But a little bit, tzaddikim gave us to understand a little bit different cheshbonis, and we'll try to be mizbonin in one cheshbon, which seems to be pretty a clear cheshbon. So the question is, what happened from 6 million Yidden that were killed b'isurim neiram ad ma'od? We know Chazal say that if a person puts his hands in his pocket to take out 50 cents and he takes out 2 pennies, he's kaparas avonis. Why? Because it's Yisurim. If a person puts his clothing inside out by mistake, it's Yisurim. The Chazal say there's this kaparas avonis. It's Yisurim that it's Gemara in Erechim. So what if one person is Mesiasa with Yisurim, he goes through a hard time, how much that is Mechaper? And the Chman al-Son, if someone's nifter, how much kapara does that cause? And if we have 6 million Yidden that went through Yisurim Noiram She'en G'masa, and they were killed, how much Tahira, how much kapara was brought in the world? How is it possible that the world stayed the same after there was 6 million Yidden that were killed? Anyone with a bissel seichel and look a bissel the svarim akdoshim that I'm avare the Indian fin, not even previous Torah, the dark Hashem that we're supposed to understand. That a person doesn't have he gets nenash and he gets tar, and if you do a mitzvah you get kodesh. All these things that we basics that we learn. Schava Einish and Kedushas HaMitzvahs. All these things bring you to one conclusion, that if there were 6 million Yidden that were killed, it's not possible that the world stayed the same. Impossible. And Rabbi Lil Dessler in Geula Gimel, 350, he says, was it for no good reason that there were shchitas and there were chabonis? The whole Europe, all the Yiddish Kehilos were nechrav, chorev and nechrav ba'ofen tzir in a row. Was that lechinam? He'im ein b'koyach karbonisenu? Is it not the koyach from our karbonis? L'milyonim, for the millions of karbonis, lasis rosham l'hevi l'yeshinam? Is it possible that there's not bekoyach in all these millions of karbonis to make an episode in the world to bring a shinai? Someone that said it was a mikra, that no, and life goes on and stayed the same. He's a kofer. That's the shaila over here. What is going on? And we'll, Bez Hashem, try to take a look at this. In Parshas Hazini, it says, Li nokim v'shilom v'le'is tamet raglim, that I will take Nakama when the Yidden lose, they can't stand anymore. And because the Goyim are causing much pain to the Yidden. It goes on, Ki Yoden Hashem Amoy, the Baruch Shalom will be done his nation, V'alavada v'isnecham, and he'll have Nachama, he'll have Rachmanis on his Avodim. Ki Yireh, Ki Ozlas Yad, V'efes Otzev, he'll see that there's nothing else we can do. We're lost. There's no hope. So the Baruch Shalom is going to say, now that there's no hope, I will step in and take Rachmanas and have Rachmanas in them. V'omar, the Goyim are going to say, so there's a few things. When is the Baruch Shalom going to have Rachmanas? When he sees we have no hope. And the Goyim are going to say, Ayay Elakai Tzir Chasi Boy. Where is the Baruch Shalom who Klal Yisrael is chais in it, it puts their hope in him. And the Baruch Shalom says, Ki Esel Shemaim Yodi, and the Baruch Shalom is going to take in the comment for the Yidden, Ki Dam Avadi Vikam Nokav L'Shor Yashal Tzar Chivi Ad Mas Amen. So what's the problem over here? The Goyim, the Ramban is Masber that the Goyim are going to say, where's the Rebbeinu Shalom that Yidden are so much have betachan in him that's supposed to take care of the Yidden, and he's Ramban's Masbarichis, and he says that the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to come over here because of the Chilul Shem Hashem, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take us out of Golus. He says it's going to be Tamas Chis Avos. The Avos is the Chis for the Avos is going to be finished. And the only reason why we're going to have a Tzolah for the Umas Olam is going to be because of his name. And he brings down the parsha in Yecheskel, the parak in Yecheskel that we spoke about last time, that Yecheskel says that the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take the Yidden out because of a Chil Shemo Yisbarach. That is this parsha in the Tzavim. And the Ramban goes on Barichis. And the Ramban says, a moedige Zach. The Ramban says, and the Ramban goes on, in the end, the Ramban says that in this Parashas Hazina, there's no T'nai from Tshuva. The Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't say that the Yidden are going to do Tshuva over here. This whole Parasha doesn't say the Yidden do Tshuva. Because this Parasha of Geula, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to have Rachmanos and Yidden, has nothing to do with us doing Tshuva. Just like in the Parasha of Yecheskel, doesn't say anything Tshuva. The Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take us out. Why? Laman Shemoy. So, but the Ramban gives us a peek into the deep understanding. It just doesn't work like that. That we don't do tshuva, we go out. Ki yotn Hashem amay v'alavoda v'snachem, sagt the Ramban, she yisker Hashem, the Eibusher didn't remember, berachimim, ki heim amay me'oz. The Klal Yisrael is his nation from the beginning. V'alavoda v'snachem, v'yisker ki heim avodav, she'amdi la b'gulusam, they'll remember that we are his avodim that stood up for him in Galus to be soivel all the tzaras in the shivud. It's going to come a time the Rebbeinu Shalom will say, yeah, we didn't have any schusim. Yidden are not doing mitzvahs the way it's supposed to be, but there's a Hitler Yamach that's doing terrible things to them, and he'll stand up for us. Why? What is he going to remember? That we're his nation that stood up for him all along. We were Moisen Nefesh, we were Sovel the Gullus. After all this year, almost 2,000 years we're in Gullus, I think the Rebbeinu Shalom hat sich nicht zershemen for the Klal Yisrael. So viel Ehrlich Yidden, so viel Yidden were Moisen Nefesh, all through Gullus, they went from city to city. There's no other Avodah Zarah that's still Kaim, that has anything, no other nation has any group of people that are so mossy to them. All the nations came and went. There's no zeiche. Klal Yisrael, through all the tzaras, through everything, stayed faithful to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Through all this galus. That's what the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to remember when time comes to come and Yidden didn't do tshuva. They mean to say that even though mitzad tzar and einish were not roy for the Geula, but there's another cheshbon. There's a cheshbon of where the Rebbeinu Shalom's am. What does it mean with the Rebbeinu Shalom's am? We were moisim nefesh ki elecha aragni kol hayoim. And that itself, there's us and the Rebbeinu Shalom. We are together. We are for each other. That is itself a reason to bring us out of the galus. The Leshem, he speaks about these two different concepts, a Geula with Tshuva, a Geula without Tshuva, and he goes through the whole discussion we went over last time, and he says, Klal Yisrael won't go out of the Galus because of Tshuva, there's not going to be Tshuva, only Tznikim are going to do Tshuva, but what is he coming to him Mazbeh? The Leshem of the is coming to him Mazbeh. Why in the Torah, it doesn't say the Schar from Moshe Mashiach, it doesn't say the Schar from Olam Haba, it doesn't say the Schar from Tchias HaMesim, doesn't say all this. Torah is not marach in these things a little bit, but does not maybe, but not much. And his masbid, the reason is because fakert you're not going to do tshuva, and we're not going to be roy. Why is the Rebbeinu Shalom going to take us out of Galus? The reason why the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take us out of Galus is because we're his nation. We are one with the Rebbeinu Shalom. And that's the aside of so the Torah, he says, only tells you there's two hagas. There's hagas Schava Einish, and this is what the Ramchal calls hagas Hayichud. That there's a hag which doesn't have to do with Schava Einish. He says so. The Torah discusses an haga from Schava Einish, not an haga which doesn't seem to go with the Schava Einish. And Yiddish Neshama is never left, never forgotten. He's marachdei barichas in the floor moed. How Yiddish Neshama is never forgotten. He's always going to have a tikkun, even if he's not roy. And that is in Moshe Mashiach. That's Oil Mahaba. That's what it is, and that's not going to be Mischar Aramaisim. So the Rebbeinu Shalom, that is an Hager Pnimi, which is not. It's not for Nicholas HaTorah. So the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't speak about that. Why is the Rebbeinu Shalom going to be Boichet us? Why is the Rebbeinu Shalom going to be Geula us from the Geula? It's fakert. It's mitzad the kesher nitzchi that we have with the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's Yedua, the famous Maral. Maral says the same idea. Why doesn't the Torah say Hagdama for Avram Avinu? Torah starts off Avram Lech Lecha. It doesn't say anything about what he had to do for. By Noach it says Noach Motzach Chaim Ein Hashem. Then the Eibishter was boichem. Avram Avinu doesn't say why the Eibishter was boichem. Zok the Maral, because if the Torah would write why he was boichem for Avram Avinu, then we would think, you know why the Eibishter was boichem for Avram Avinu? Because it did schar mitzvah. So when there's no schar, so then he won't be boichem them. Keilu, it's efsher for the oilam without Avram Avinu. Keilu, it's efsher for the oilam without the Yidden. Leshem says Yisrael also Mashavat Chila before there was schar mitzvahs in Torah. Yisrael is an integral part. The site for the ganze Bria. The whole Bria is for Kal Yisrael. Bereshis for Yisrael to Bereshis. And Avram Avinu, the Bereshis created the whole world. So Avram Avinu, right? I think it says Bahai Borav. It says that because of Avram Avinu, I think I'll make it up. But the whole Zuk Maral, that the whole Tachlis, why the Eibishter was boichem Avram Avinu was not because of what he did. Yes, by Noach the Eibishter was boichem him because of what he did. But it came to Avram Avinu was not because of what he did. There was a much deeper thing. The connection with Klal Yisrael and the Eibishter is not based on what we do. What we do is an outcome of schar v'oinish. There's no suffix to schar v'oinish. The shleimus habriya, the shleimus hatikun, is a lot deeper than that. And the Lashon says, and that's the same idea what the Maral is saying. We would nifcha as a am, not based on our ma'asim, and when we nigal as a am, also not based on ma'asim. What we're going to be nigal? Zuk the Ramban, the Geula is not going to come because of Tשוba. It's because of our mysterious nefesh to the Rebbeinu Shalom, that we're one with the Rebbeinu Shalom. What is the story that the Torah doesn't say before Avraham Avinu? Doesn't say the story from Ir Kasdim, that he jumped into the fire. He was Meis Nefesh, Kalech L'Rak L'Kol Yom. Eibishter wasn't boichem Avraham Avinu in the schar of that he jumped into the fire. That wasn't a schar. That was just a hira that we're one. He formulated the connection that before the Moshe spoke to him, it was seen that these two go together for always, no matter what's going to happen. He's ready to die. Not that he's ready not to exist. Only for the Rebbeinu Shalom. If you're ready not to exist only for me, then you're mine and for always. And that is the reason why the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to be boichet to us in times of the Geula, because we're ready to give over everything just for the Rebbeinu Shalom, even if we're not roy for schar mitzvahs. Just to mention another Ramban, the Ramban says the reason why the Rebbeinu Shalom was boichet us and to take us out of Mitzrayim. Ki am kodesh, it says in the pasuk, Ki am kodesh ashato Hashem lakecha. We're am kodesh to the Rebbeinu Shalom. B'chol b'achar Hashem lakecha. Rebbeinu Shalom was you boiche liyos la'am segula v'lekala am, to be a chosen nation, a segula from all the nations that shall pray them. Why? Not because you're more than all other nations. Chashak Hashem echem. Eibishter loves you. Why? Ki atam at mekalam. You're small nations. The Chinese have much more than the Jews. Why did the Rebbeinu Shalom choose us? Ki mahavas Hashem eschem, because ahava from the Rebbeinu Shalom, that's why he chose you. It was because the shvir from the Avis. Because the shvir to the Avis, and also because of the ahava the Rebbeinu Shalom had to us. That's why he took us out of Mitzrayim. That's why he chose us. So the question is, what does that mean? He chose us because he loves us? Isn't the choosing an act of love? What does that mean? Ki mahavas Hashem eschem. Zok the Ramban, that who does someone choose for a lover? Who does someone choose that someone love? You only should find a friend that's willing to take upon you or be civil your problems. If you have a friend that all of a sudden you tell him the wrong thing and all of a sudden he got the Kibbutz news and he's not interested in you anymore, don't be his friend. He's not a person to be friendly with. If you have a faithful friend, you have to choose a friend who's faithful to you. Even sometimes you don't like what he'll do, but because you love him, he's going to stay with you. That's a good friend. Zuk the Ramban. Did the Rebbeinu Shalom chose Klal Yisrael? Why? Because even if things are going to be hard, and it's not going to be easy, but we're going to be soivel. B'chol ha'ba'al of a man, if Yisrael Klal Yisrael is roy for that, we're azim, he says, and he says that if we get told, it brings on Chazal, Shmos Rabbah, that if he's told either bow down to Avodah Zarah or be killed, we'll be killed. And that is the reason. And he says, the Rebbeinu Shalom said that, the Rebbeinu Shalom, because of we're so off to the Rebbeinu Shalom, Shegia and Yanam, and the Rebbeinu Shalom loved our Avos so much, so he made sure to swear to us that the Chet shouldn't be mevatel.
If the Chinese will get the Torah and then they'll have to get killed, or Zara they'll also get killed.
No, if the Chinese will come to the Torah, then all of a sudden they have to and then comes the other kings and it says, get killed or you do the Torah, they're going to give up on the Torah. Right? They have no problems.
Yeah, we only do it because we got the Torah. It's not shaykhs because of the Jews.
There's two parts. We do the Torah because we got the Torah, but then it's not enough to do the Torah. Sometimes it's hard to do the Torah. Sometimes it's difficult. So what's going to keep us going? Chinese don't have a Havas Hashem. They don't have that. They're not really to be civil to the Bnei Shalom. They'll give it up.
Havas Hashem after Hashem chose us.
No. So how did the Abish know before? That's a question. How did he know that?
Well, not how the Abish. How did he know that we weren't have Havas Hashem?
How did he know it? Where did he see it? So he says, he reads on the Gemara, Sheshloishim Azamim. There are three people that are chutzvah, or az. He's Yisrael b'umas. He saw in us that we had that kshamas. Even the Yidden in Mitzrayim, after 200 years of Mitzrayim, they didn't do any Torah mitzvahs. They were lost between the goyim, but they kept their yahadus. They still kept faithful. He saw in them. It's a good question. We have to have more of a husband how he saw it, but he saw in them they had this midah that they're not going to give up, and if they're ready to makabel the Torah, and if they're makabel fully, you could trust them. But
Shantak saw a mouse, and how is it possible someone to leave Yiddishkeit?
So it's a great question. So Chaim HaKadosh says it's a whole different discussion. I don't know if I can answer that question, but there is a famous Chaim HaKadosh says that all those that Yotzel Tar B'Yisrael, they didn't want to be Mekabel by Matan Torah, and all those Gerim that wanted to that have become Gerim, they were from the Goyim. All the Goyim didn't want to be Mekabel the Torah, so those the Gerim are the Neshamas that really wanted to be Mekabel the Torah. Okay, it's one mahalach. Could be the other mahalach, but it's a good kasha. But that could be one mahalach. But Elechanam, we have to understand this a little more. Well, that's what the Ramban is saying. That why was the Rebbeinu Shalom boichet us? Because he knew he chose us because we're a reliable friend. We're going to be Moshe Nefesh. That is the Nekuda Hapnimius. Why the Rebbeinu Shalom was boichet Avram Avinu. Why the Rebbeinu Shalom was boichet Klal Yisrael. And that is the reason why the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to be Geula to us. Yes, well, most of Klal Yisrael is not going to be roy for the Geula. We're going to be slapping Krishma, I don't know, Shabbat. It's going to be, there'll be tightness. But even clearly, we're faithful to Hashem. Maybe sometimes the other things come behind us, but that the Rebbeinu Shalom understands that we are a good shidduch. That is the whole idea. Yeah, and the Lashem is very marking this, and we'll go for it. This, I think, is the Hezbollah. The Oimik Advarim, famous Chazal say that the Geula is going to come Be'ita and Chashana. Everyone knows that Chazal. That Zachi Be'ita. What's the Lashon? Zachi Achashana. If you be Zachi Achashana, I'm going to make it fast. If Loi Zachi Be'ita, it's coming time. Everyone knows that's the whole reason how the whole Geula, we're hoping for the Geula because we know it can come faster than it is. It's famous B'Skarov. B'Skarov says that Cheshena means before, means can be even 2 seconds before. You're not going to have to go through the whole Be'ita. But I'm not going to get into all the Torah. The Pashat Chazal said Zachi Be'ita, Cheshena lo Zachi Be'ita. If you Zachi, we'll do Ma'asim Tovim. We'll be roy for it. We'll get it fast. If we're not going to be roy for it, it's going to come in its proper time. And all the Mefarshim, Arichas Gadol, it's a whole shmuz for itself. But the Rekud is, if it was Zeicha, we're going to be very fast and a high Madrega and everything's going to come like a Tzitz Mitzrayim. If it won't be, it's going to be like the second base of Mikdash. So it's hard, it'll come time, it's going to be slowly, it's going to be... we're not going to be Roy, and it'll be like Yisurim. That's the difference between Zeich and Azecha. What is the difference over here? The difference over here is if it'll come at Satzchav Oynish and we'll Roy, okay, so it's going to come right away. If not, it's going to have to come through pain. Why does it have to come through pain? Because then that's the other Mahalach that we're Roy. We'll show that, it could be when not all of us are Roy to do the Ma'asim Tovim, but we, Chal Yisrael, are still existing after 1800 years of the Chorban Beis. We're still around to show Hashem, they're still here. That itself, that is another reason why we should go. So Lo Zachi has its own mahalach that we're Zoicha. How we're Zoicha? That we're faithful to Hashem. Yeah. There's Medrash and there's another Ramban, and we can't go through all the Ramakoimis, but the idea is that through Mesiras Nefesh, through Alecha Harakni Kol Hayoim, through this concept, we come close to Hashem, where Hashem gets the expression. When we show the love to Hashem through Mesiras Nefesh, then that itself is Me'or Akeres Hashem She'en Digmasa. It's Me'or Ahavas Doidim. It's Me'or all the Hergeshim of between Klal Yisrael and the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Mesiras Nefesh that of Klal Yisrael that's what Me'or the whole thing. Coming back to the Second World War, then the 6 million people that were Moshe Nefesh al Hashem, went out to Hashem. There was definitely the Indian from Kilacha Arakni Kol Hayom that brought out the Grestik Kirvis Hashem Shayach, which was ever since Avram Avinu. I don't know. This and Klal Yisrael stayed faithful. We're still around. We're still doing Torah mitzvahs now. This would have happened to us. Our grandfathers gave themselves away for the Rebbeinu Shalom. And Abel Yedesel says, he says like this. Who can understand the Dark Hashem? And many people ask Kashis, what's about all these people that were killed? Zeir Shemad, Moisin Nefesh al Kiddush Hashem. He says that these Goyim, the Nazis, didn't look at the difference between a Fruma Yid and not a Fruma Yid. What's the whole Indian of people getting killed? What's going on over here? He says, Anshe Emes Hemo Yadi Pesha Dava. He says, people, Anshe Emes understand the truth of what's going on over here. He says, the Tachlis wasn't Shemad, and the Tachlis wasn't even to be Kadeshem Shemayim in front of the nations. He says, the Tachlis was an Avodah, which is a lot more than all that. Because the Goyim even saw people that are not from the Umayis Nefesh. So the people that were the Goyim saw even not people that weren't from, that were also killed. So they didn't see the difference between a from Yid that was killed and not a from Yid that was killed. So there was no really Kiddush Hashem mitzad that. So he says there was even a bigger madrega over here. He says this was a sign, the strongest Nisayon possible. He's the only one to know if the Yidden passed the Nisayon is only the Rebbeinu Shalom. The only one to see the Kiddush Hashem of this Nisayon was only the Rebbeinu Shalom. Why? Because the Nisayon over here was to see what is really going on in the heart of a Jew. If when he's being killed like Kiddush Hashem, is he happy that he's going because he's a Jew? Is he happy that he's Am Hashem? Or no, is he not? This is something which is the hardest thing. A person should have the biggest Yisurim. The biggest thing no one's going to appreciate it. And still, he's doing it with happiness. He's giving away his whole life to the Rebbeinu Shalom. He says that is an sign which the Tanoim v'Amaram were scared to go through. That's what he said. It says, the Chazal say that the Tanoim v'Amaram said Mashiach should come, and without us not there, we shouldn't see it, because they were scared of what's going to be in the Moshe Mashiach. He said they were scared of this Nisayon, to actually have the Nisayon to go Kiddush Hashem and be happy about it. And he ends off Devarim Neflan. Ibedareini hachalosh, and now Shachador, Gedoleinu al Gedol Yisrael v'Anshe Emes, and the people that were truth for Yiddishkeit, Hisigi Emezeh v'Yamdi b'Nisayon ha'Noira Asher Nisam Hashem, and they actually stood faithful in that Nisayon. The Nisayon which Tanoim Aram were scared to stand by, these millions of Yidden actually stood by it. The Ka Dafki b'Shechina HaTorah. That's how they were Davik, and they went out Kiddush Hashem, means that they went and they were Davik in the Shechina HaTorah.
None of them are happy.
None of them were happy? That's what he's saying now. That they were happy. We know many, many stories. Well, Hashem will see soon, maybe some stories. Maybe next year, maybe this year. But there were definitely Kittis, and all different stories how they actually got ready to go to Kiddush Hashem. I think in Kelm, when they were walking to be in Nechshel Kiddush Hashem, they were walking from the shul to the place. They went with a song. They got prepared, and they were given drushes. Countless stories with the Ger Hasidim, how they jumped into the fire. There's many, many stories how they went and they were the Kiddush al Yoinah. Rabbi Yoel Weintraub takes it a little further, a little deeper. He says that the idea of the Second World War was the idea of the Sorerig Malchus or Rikiva. He says, in this Second World War, what was the mechuven of Hitler? His mechuven was the same mechuven as Haman in Russia. His mechuven was to wipe out the Metzias, the Nekuda of Knesset Yisrael. Wipe Klal Yisrael, the Am Hashem, off the map. He says there was a kitrig on that Klal Yisrael was this Arif and Umas, and they weren't showing their yichud of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And that kitrig was here to show what? That Klal Yisrael is the nation of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And this was the tachlis of that whole thing. He says, maybe Geula, he says that this is the Laman Shemoy was that the Klal Yisrael was nishchet al Kiddush Hashem. They went al Kiddush Hashem, Laman Shemoy. It means to say that through the Yisurim, that they held themselves strong. That was the Nekuda that showed that we're Yichudim to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and we're the Rebbeinu Shalom Amzi Yitzar to Tilasi Saperu, that we're the Am Hashem to bring out the praise of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Since that was the whole Tachlis in the Second World War, the same idea that we said over from the Lashem, we said over from that the Tachlis of the Second World War was to bring out that we are the nation of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And that's the whole Tachlis of this thing. I just want to a little bit more, just a little bit more, just to bring out this Nakuda. When we're talking about Mesias Nefesh from who was Mesias Nefesh, I want to go into it maybe a little bit more, maybe next time. But even we find that the Second World War, even the people that were from Mesias Nefesh Laman Shemoy. Just these are things that everyone knows. But Chazal say when Yaakov Avinu came to Makabel the brachas from Yitzchak, it says Vayorach esreich begodav. He smelled Yitzchak smelled his begodav. He says Rei reach benik reich asada. The smell of the begodav from Yaakov smells like the reich from Gan Eden. Chazal say reich begodav, not begodim, is boigdav. Those that are boiged in the Rebbeinu Shalom, people that are Rishon. And he said, these people, mamash reich Gan Eden from the Rishon. That's what he said. What does that mean? Reich Begodav. He says the Reich Geneden from Rishon. Where do we see Reich Geneden from Rishon? So Chazal bring a couple of stories. Famous story that someone went into by the Chorban Bayis. They told him, the Romans told him to go Yesem Shisa, go bring out something. He says the first thing you go in, you keep for yourself, and the rest you'll give for us. Yesem Shisa was a Rosh Hashanah. He went in. What did he take? He took the menorah. Chorban Bayis. He was excited, just like the Yidden in times of the Purim. They were all excited by Sudas HaChashverosh of the Chorban Beis HaMikdash. Yesem Shisa. No, he wasn't just a Suda. He went and took the menorah from the Beis HaMikdash during the Chorban Bayis. Unbelievable. A Rosh Hashanah. And they said, ooh, this we didn't mean. A Pashta person doesn't get the menorah. Give us the menorah and go back in and take whatever you want. And he said, no, once is enough. I was machis. I made angry. I'm angry. I'm not going in again. And they tortured him, and they tortured him, and they tortured him. And he says, and he was screaming, "It's enough!" That he caused pain for the Baruch once. I'm not going to cause him pain. That's how he got killed. He was a Rosh Marusha. He actually wanted to invest in the Chorban Abayis. He wanted to he went into the Qidush. He went to the Eichel to take out, but he didn't go back in. He didn't go back. So Chazal saw over here that this is Reich Gan Eden. Even the Rishon, he was Moshe Nefesh. Afterwards. Even though he was such a Rasha. And Chazal bring another story, same story of a Rasha that was Moshe Nefesh, and Yosef his nephew was, but then he saw that Yosef saw his nephew, he was a Rasha, and he had a similar story, and he was killed like Hashem, and he saw his bed. Chazal says he saw his bed. It's going straight to Gan Eden. And he says, "Oh, this guy came there before me." But even though he was a Rasha Marusha, but he was Moshe Nefesh of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And what is Chazal teaching us? That every Pashto Yid has that midah, everyone knows, has the midah of Mesiras Nefesh of Rebbeinu Shalom. And the Tanya says, Afil Kal Shabakalam is ready to be Mesiras Nefesh of Rebbeinu Shalom. And the same thing in Rebbe Chaim Volozhin. Commissioner B'chush, we see B'chush, Rabbi Ma'amei Oretz, Ma'Yehudim, Mesiras as Atzman Kil Hashem, all the generations, people that were never made the Elach, they were Mesiras Nefesh of Rebbeinu Shalom. And Agriculture says that our parents told us from stories of people that were over various and Moshe Nefesh. Same thing. The same lashon. The Kedushas Levi has the same lashon like the Tanya. Afil Kal Shabakalam is Moshe Nefesh and the Rebbeinu Shalom's Kiddush Hashem. And the Kosmog Rebbe said he was there during the Second World War. And Afil Yehudim Shutim v'Shvelim the Pashti Tzavarim l'Shchitiv Alei Al-Moiked. They went and they were pushed their throat to be Nishchat HaKiddush Hashem. And they were able to, he says, they were able to get away from, somehow put their name under not being Jewish somehow, and able to get away from it, but they wanted to stay, they didn't want to show they're not Yidden, and even though they weren't Elcha people, but they kept their Yahadis, even though they know they're going to be killed for that. They weren't willing to write in the books that they're not Jews. And he says over a story, and he says that's how it always was. He says, I have to tell you that against all those that say by the Second World, by the Shoah, that the Yidden that went into the fire were not Nechshel K'sis Nefesh, because they didn't look at the difference between a Koifer and an Elch Yid. He says, the Vreim Shakav Kozov, he says, hundreds and thousands of people went and were killed al Kiddush Hashem, and even though they could have saved themselves through different ways, he says, and they went al Kiddush Hashem. And the Rashi, the Rabbi from Chabad, the son of the Tzaddik Tzedek, Shmuel, I think his name was, he says that we saw during the Second World War that even those that I think it's about the Second World War, that even those that were looked like goyim, who didn't elach, they were Rishonim, but when they saw there was a bomb exploding next to them, they all said Shema Yisrael. There's countless stories, maybe we'll get more, but this is the idea that it wasn't only the Elach Kehillas. There was millions of others, and even not Elach, of course, there were those that maybe there's always that cut of a Pischach Shel Gehenim, anyways in Tשובה. There's always those that even when Gehenim, they're still going to do the same thing. But there was also on a whole the Elocha people, of course, and even not the Elocha people who were never קידוש Hashem, and that is the idea what is needed for a Geula Shleima. So the Chofetz Chaim said, what the Chofetz Chaim said, that in his generation there was the Katfut Tzadikim that would, for them itself was right for the Geula. Now we have another parsha that says that Yidden are going to be nigal even if they don't do tshuva. But there also has a Tanai of people that were to be Moisei Nefesh al קידוש Hashem, and there definitely was Niskayim, the Melech Kosher Ka'amam, that the idea of the Aman Nifchar, the Nikuda Pnimius, which shows that our chosen nation was Nizgala during the Second World War, that it was worth it for us to be Nigal. Just like there was a Kat Tzadikim, the Kat of Risham also, we'll call them Risham, also did their tafkid in order to bring the Geula. And there's no question that was the sky. As Hashem, next year I want to go a little deeper in what Tzadikim said in this topic to see how it affects our generation.